For over 50 years, The Price is Right has been a TV institution, a Technicolor dreamscape bringing joy and brand new cars into millions of homes. It's the one place where the audience members are the real stars, where any one of them might hear those magic words, "Come on down." The show is a comforting presence, as American as apple pie, and for decades, it was probably the happiest show on TV, presided over by the legendary Bob Barker and later, the ever-affable Drew Carey. But what if the happiest show on TV was hiding a few dark secrets? For years, rumors have swirled about on-air chaos, off-air turmoil, and scandals that threaten to shatter the show's wholesome image forever. Today, we're counting down the most controversial moments that happened live on air and fueled conspiracies that The Price is Right was on the verge of being pulled. We're peeling back the curtain to investigate the incidents that sparked fan backlash and revealed a side of the show that was anything but a perfect showcase. From shocking cheating allegations to real-life drama that bled onto the soundstage, these are the moments that put the price of fame to the test. Imagine this, it's a typical weekday morning. You're tuned into CBS, ready for your daily dose of The Price is Right. The iconic theme music starts, the announcer's voice booms, and the first contestants are called down. The show is humming along like a well-oiled machine. A contestant is on stage, playing a pricing game, the audience is cheering, and then, blackness. Silence. This happened in 2025. The show didn't just have a technical glitch, it vanished from the airwaves nationwide. In its place, a news anchor delivered a breaking report about a Supreme Court announcement. For the news producers, it was just another interruption. But for millions of loyal viewers, it was just plain confusing and frustrating. In the old days, this would have been a minor annoyance. But in the hyper-connected world of social media, it instantly became a firestorm. X and Reddit absolutely erupted with posts from angry fans. "Where did my show go?" one person demanded. Another wrote, "I absolutely hate when they preempt TPR, especially when it is news that is not urgent. Special reports are for urgent information." The reaction tells you everything you need to know about modern TV fans. While some understood interruptions for things like hurricane coverage, others were way less forgiving. The incident tapped into a deep frustration among daytime TV viewers who feel their programming is treated as disposable, easily tossed aside for news that could probably wait. This wasn't the first time the show had been yanked off the air, but this time was different. The information vacuum, mixed with a general distrust online, became a breeding ground for conspiracy theories. Within minutes, the hashtag #PriceIsRight cancelled started popping up, fueled by rumor. Was the breaking news just a cover? Did something terrible happen on set? The theories ranged from plausible to completely bizarre. Some guessed a major accident had happened on stage. Others whispered that Drew Carey had a meltdown or a contestant did something so wild it couldn't be aired. The cancellation conspiracy wasn't born from facts, but from the jarring absence of a beloved routine. For many, The Price is Right isn't just a show, it's a daily ritual. Its abrupt disappearance felt personal, and people's minds rushed to fill in the blanks with their worst fears. Of course, the reality was boring. The interruption was just standard procedure for big national news. The show was back the very next day, business as usual. But the incident left a mark. It showed just how fiercely loyal the show's fanbase is, and how a simple scheduling change can now get magnified into a full-blown conspiracy, proving that sometimes, the biggest drama is the one that happens when the show isn't on the air at all. Another moment that sent shockwaves through the fan community happened in July of 2025, and it was one of the strangest events in the show's history. A contestant named Kathy Young was having the time of her life. She'd been called to "Come on Down," won her way on stage, and was playing Gridlock for a brand new 2025 Toyota Corolla. The game was tense. Kathy made her guesses but ultimately lost, just missing the car's actual price of $24,157. It was a bummer, like it always is, but totally normal for the show. Drew Carey consoled her, reminded everyone she'd be back to spin the big wheel, and the show went to commercial, but when the cameras came back, something was off. Drew was standing by the big wheel, but there were only 2 contestants there instead of 3. Kathy Young was gone, the mood in the studio, and for everyone watching at home, shifted from excitement to pure confusion. A contestant doesn't just vanish mid-show. Drew, looking right at the camera, had to address it. "We only have 2 players for the showcase showdown because contestant Kathy had an emergency and she was unable to continue," he announced. "We're going to have 2 spinners. Good luck to them." As the remaining 2 contestants spun, you could feel the concern in the air. Drew even added, "We hope Kathy is okay." This was completely new territory. Never before had a contestant just left in the middle of a taping. The internet immediately lit up. What kind of emergency could be so bad she had to leave the studio right away? Fan forums were flooded with theories. Was it a family emergency? A sudden health crisis? The show's producers stayed quiet at first, which only added to the mystery. The show went on, with the showcase showdown proceeding with just 2 people, a strange and somber sight. As the credits rolled, Drew signed off with another message of support, "Sending our best to Kathy. We hope she's okay." The mystery of Kathy's departure became a huge talking point. It was a rare, unscripted moment that broke through the show's carefully produced fun. It also sparked a different kind of cancellation rumor, not about scandal, but about safety. Was the set too stressful? Had the excitement triggered a medical problem? It raised real questions about the duty of care a show has for regular people thrust into a high-pressure situation. Days later, the production team released a formal statement. They confirmed Kathy had left due to unforeseen circumstances, but respected her privacy by not giving details. In a move that fans praised, they also announced that Kathy had been invited back to be a special audience member for a future taping. While the incident was handled with class, it's a stark reminder of the real people at the heart of the game. These aren't actors, they're people whose unpredictable lives can sometimes crash into the fantasy world of television in startling ways. Kathy Young's sudden exit was a moment that went off the rails, not because of a scandal, but because life simply happened. When Drew Carey took over for Bob Barker in 2007, he had enormous shoes to fill. Barker was a TV legend, a calm master of ceremonies. Carey, known for his improv comedy, brought a totally different energy. For the most part, fans loved it. But his freewheeling style has, on occasion, led to moments that sparked some serious fan backlash. Unlike one big scandal, this has been more of a slow burn, built from a series of jokes that just didn't land. In late 2024, Carey found himself in hot water after a Plinko clip went viral. A contestant named Lauren was at the top of the board with a chance to win up to $500,000. As she got ready to drop her chips, Carey offered some advice. "One at a time, put them against the wall. Drop it, $100,000, right in the middle," he said. Lauren did what he said, dropping chip after chip from the center. But they kept bouncing to the outer, low-value slots. Even though his strategy clearly wasn't working, Carey doubled down, repeating, "Just do that, that should do it." Lauren walked away with only $4,000. While she seemed happy, viewers at home were livid. Social media comments were scathing, accusing Carey of giving bad advice that cost her a shot at the grand prize. "Drew Carey really needs to stop saying right in the middle," one fan fumed, and this wasn't an isolated thing. Carey has caught flack for other gaffes. In one episode, he incorrectly announced a contestant was off by 45 cents, when the correct number, 35 cents, was right on the screen behind him. In another, he quipped at the audience, "Well, good morning, judgmental." While some saw it as a joke, others found it condescending. These moments have created a narrative among some fans that Drew either doesn't take the game seriously enough, or he's somehow working against the contestants. Of course, that's not his role, but even the perception of unfairness can be damaging to a show built on trust. The backlash. can get personal, too. Some viewers have criticized overly excited contestants for jumping on Kerry after a big win, leading to online chatter about his health and safety. Each of these little controversies is like a paper cut. Alone, they're minor. But over time, they feed a larger story of discontent. They fuel the "is Drew the right host?" debate that pops up every time a joke falls flat. The criticism really comes from the deep nostalgia viewers have for the Bob Barker era. Barker was the calm center of the storm. Kerry is part of the storm, and that change is still jarring for some longtime fans. The price of a bad joke for Drew Carey is often a new round of public scrutiny. In the entire history of The Price is Right, there has never been a moment that so perfectly combined mind-blowing skill with the chilling suspicion of cheating as the Showcase Showdown of September 22, 2008. On that day, a contestant named Terry Nice did the impossible. He didn't just win his showcase. He bid the exact price, down to the last dollar. It was a moment that brought the show to a grinding halt and ignited its most intense cheating scandal ever. Terry, a retired weatherman, and his wife Linda weren't just casual viewers, they were dedicated students of the show. For months, they had obsessively watched and recorded The Price is Right, noticing that the show often reused the same products. So they started memorizing the prices. Their system worked. Terry got out of contestants' row, won a big green egg smoker, and made it to the Showcase Showdown. His opponent passed the first showcase over to him. This was his moment. As the prizes were being described, another person in the audience becomes key to the story: Ted Slauson. Slauson was a pricing savant who had also spent decades memorizing prices. As Terry prepared to bid, Slauson started shouting out numbers from the audience, which is totally allowed. Terry's wife, Linda, was also doing her own math. But Terry heard Slauson and settled on a final bid. He declared $23,743. The second that bid was locked in, a weird silence fell over the studio. Drew Carey's smile faltered. You could see on his face that he thought something was wrong. After the other contestant bid, Drew revealed her price, showing she had overbid. Then, he turned to Terry's showcase, reading from the card, his voice full of disbelief. He said, "Actual retail price, $23,743. The audience roared, but it wasn't pure joy. It was a confused, shocked sound. Terry had hit it perfectly. He'd won both showcases. But Carey's reaction was just deflated. The show cut to commercial, and behind the scenes, all hell broke loose. The taping stopped for nearly half an hour. Producers immediately suspected cheating. How could anyone know the exact price of a unique combination of prizes? They reviewed the footage and questioned the staff. Was there a leak? The integrity of the whole show was on the line. In the end, they couldn't find any evidence of wrongdoing. Slauson's help wasn't against the rules, and Nice had simply used a flawless strategy. The show had to give him his prizes. But the incident left a deep scar. Drew Carey later admitted he thought the show was crooked, and the win had been faked. The fallout was huge. Producers immediately changed how the show worked. They started randomizing prize options and features to make prices less predictable. They diversified their products to break the patterns that fans like Nice and Slauson had identified. The perfect bid had exposed a huge vulnerability in the show's formula. For fans, the incident became legendary. But it also fueled rumors that the network was furious and that the scandal had badly damaged the show's credibility. While the show wasn't actually at risk of cancellation, it was a massive wake-up call that forced the 36-year-old show to evolve, all because one man knew just a little too much. Not all of the show's most dramatic moments happened in front of the audience. One of the most consequential events was a direct result of the TV production itself. This is the story of Janice Pennington, one of the show's original models, and the on-set accident that changed her life forever. For nearly 30 years, Janice Pennington was a core part of The Price is Right. From the very first show in 1972, she was one of the original Barker's Beauties, the model who famously handed Bob Barker his microphone for over 5,000 shows. She was as much a part of the show as the Big Wheel itself, but in June of 1988, that all changed. During a taping, a TV camera swung around unexpectedly and hit her, knocking her off the stage and into contestants' row. The impact was so bad it knocked her unconscious, the fun atmosphere vanished. The taping stopped, staff rushed to her side, and an ambulance was called. Pennington was carried out on a stretcher. After a 45-minute delay, a controversial decision was made: the show must go on. The cameras started rolling again without her. Pennington's injuries were severe. She had a broken collarbone and shoulder damage that required 2 surgeries. The operations left her with permanent physical changes. One of her shoulders was now visibly shorter than the other, and she had significant scarring. For a model whose job often involved wearing swimsuits, it was devastating. Despite the accident, Pennington eventually returned to the show. She sued CBS and was awarded $1.3 million by a jury, who agreed the accident had seriously impacted her career, but her troubles were far from over. In October of 2000, after 29 years on the show, Janice Pennington was suddenly fired, along with fellow longtime model Kathleen Bradley. The timing was suspicious. It came shortly after both women had given testimony in a wrongful termination lawsuit filed by another model, Holly Hallstrom. Kathleen Bradley later said she believed they were fired as retaliation for their testimony, which hadn't supported Barker. Barker denied it, claiming the decision was made by the production company. For Pennington, it was a cold end to a 3-decade career. She told the Los Angeles Times that Barker, the man she'd worked with for almost 30 years, never said a word to her after she was let go. This story adds a much darker layer to the show's happy-go-lucky image. It's not about an on-air mistake, it's about real-world consequences and alleged corporate hardball. The camera accident was bad enough, but many felt the firing years later was just as damaging. It fueled growing rumors of a toxic workplace, a place where even the most iconic figures could be seen as disposable and where loyalty was a one-way street. For years, the smiling faces of Barker's Beauties were a key part of The Price is Right. But behind the glamour, a war was brewing. A war that would explode into a series of lawsuits, pitting the models against Bob Barker and exposing an allegedly toxic workplace culture. The 2 women at the center of this storm were Diane Parkinson and Holly Hallstrom. The first bombshell dropped in 1994 when Diane Parkinson, a model for 18 years, filed an $8 million lawsuit against Bob Barker. She had left the show the year before, supposedly to pursue other interests. Her lawsuit told a very different story. She accused Barker of sexual harassment, claiming he had forced her into a sexual relationship for over 3 years by threatening her job. The allegations were stunning. Barker, America's beloved TV grandpa, was being accused of something awful. He immediately went on the defense, calling a press conference to admit they'd had a relationship, but he insisted it was consensual, hanky-panky, that she had initiated. He claimed the lawsuit was just an $8 million shakedown. It turned into a messy, public he said, she said battle. Eventually, Diane Parkinson dropped her lawsuit, claiming the stress was destroying her health and she couldn't afford to keep fighting. Bob Barker has beaten me into submission, she said. Barker claimed he felt completely vindicated. But the story wasn't over. Another model, Holly Hallstrom, was about to enter the fight. Hallstrom, a fan favorite, was fired in 1995. The show said it was downsizing, but Barker publicly stated it was because of her weight gain. Hallstrom said the real reason was that she refused to help Barker discredit Diane Parkinson. She claimed Barker pressured her to go on talk shows and lie about Parkinson, and when she refused, she was fired. What came next was a decade-long legal war. Barker sued Hallstrom for slander, but then dropped his case. Hallstrom countersued for wrongful termination. the battle took a devastating toll on her. She reportedly went bankrupt and was even homeless for a time, living out of her car, but Holly refused to be silenced. She fought relentlessly, and finally, in 2005, she won, receiving a multi-million-dollar settlement. The non-disclosure agreement she signed kept her from speaking further, but her victory was a landmark moment. She had stood up to one of the most powerful men in television and won. Together, the Parkinson and Hallstrom lawsuits painted a damning picture of life behind the scenes. They suggested a workplace where women were seen as disposable and where speaking out could lead to ruin. These weren't just rumors anymore, they were legal battles playing out in public, shattering the illusion of a happy TV family. The lawsuits from Jen Parkinson and Holly Hallstrom were just the tip of the iceberg. The number one reason the show's reputation faced its greatest threat wasn't a single on-air moment, it was the slow, steady drip of legal claims alleging a culture of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, primarily under Bob Barker's long reign. This wasn't just a few isolated incidents. It was a pattern that threatened to topple a television empire. One of the biggest cases came from Deborah Curling, a CBS employee who worked on the show for 24 years. In 2007, just after Barker's retirement, Curling filed a lawsuit. Curling, who is black, alleged she was forced to quit after testifying against Barker in a different lawsuit. She claimed that afterward, she was demoted and subjected to an intolerable work environment. As retaliation, her lawsuit went even further, accusing the show of discriminating against black employees and contestants, and tolerating racist jokes backstage. A judge eventually dismissed her case, but the allegations themselves were incredibly damaging, adding racism to the existing claims of sexism and harassment, and the lawsuits kept coming. Models Brandy Cochran and Shane Sterling both filed separate suits alleging they were wrongfully fired after becoming pregnant. Cochran initially won a judgment of over $8.5 million, though it was later overturned and settled out of court. These cases suggested a pattern of pregnancy discrimination. Another model, Claudia Jordan, also sued for sexual harassment and racial discrimination. Together, these lawsuits painted a disturbing picture of a workplace allegedly run like a personal kingdom, where power was used to intimidate and control. Barker himself seemed to have little sympathy. In a 2007 interview, when asked about the longtime models he'd worked with, he was shockingly dismissive, saying, "They've been such a problem. They're disgusting, I don't want to mention them." This relentless wave of legal trouble was the true existential threat to The Price is Right. A show can survive a blooper or a cheating scare. But can it survive the complete collapse of its identity? The show's entire brand was built on being wholesome, family fun. The lawsuits threatened to expose that brand as a lie. The talk of cancellation born from this era felt the most plausible. There were whispers that CBS was getting tired of the constant legal headaches and the damage to its reputation. Rumors swirled that Barker's retirement wasn't entirely his choice, but a move pushed by the network to clean house. While the network never pulled the plug, this was the show's darkest chapter. It was a time when the price of doing business included multi-million-dollar settlements and a constant stream of negative headlines. The show survived, but the legacy of this era is a permanent stain on its history, a powerful reminder that the most dangerous scandals are rarely the ones you see on camera. What do you think about these scandals? Were they just isolated incidents, or do they point to a deeper problem behind the cheerful facade of America's favorite game show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this investigation revealing, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden histories of television. For more than half a century, The Price is Right has endured. It survived a change in hosts, massive shifts in culture, and the evolution of TV itself. It's still a beacon of daytime television, a place where dreams of new cars and fabulous showcases really do come true. But its journey has not been a smooth one. The idea that one on-air moment almost got the show cancelled is mostly the stuff of legend. No contestant walking off, no broadcast interruption, not even a perfect bid ever truly put the show on the brink. The on-air dramas, while exciting, were ultimately just footnotes. The real threat, the storm that truly tested the show's resilience, was brewing off-stage. The avalanche of lawsuits throughout the 90s and 2000s exposed a side of the program that was anything but wholesome. The allegations of harassment and discrimination painted a picture of a toxic environment that was the exact opposite of the joyous spectacle that aired every day. That was the fire that threatened to burn the whole house down by destroying the show's brand. Yet, The Price is Right survived. It navigated the departure of its iconic host, weathered the storm of controversy, and emerged into a new era. The show's endurance is a testament to its simple, powerful appeal and the deep connection it has with generations of viewers. Its history is a cautionary tale about the vast difference between the curated perfection we see on our screens and the messy, all-too-human reality that lies just out of frame. The Price, it turns out, was right for survival.